So just as it sounds, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a it's a treaty between the nations saying we would pledge ourselves to protect one another, that we are forming this treaty. And it had many different aspects of it, but the one that's most important and the one that we'll spend a lot of time discussing is Article 5. And Article 5 is the issue that deals with collective self-defense. Now, if you look at, I mean, if you look at the treaty itself, as Rob and I were discussing before we got in the air, is short. I mean, it's 14 articles, basically 14 paragraphs, the longest one of which is Article 5, the collective self-defense, and could essentially cover 2 pages. I mean, back in college essays, the Arial 10 single spaced, you could fit it on a half a page. But so it was the North. It was finally ratified in 1949 with the 14 articles, and it had the original 12 founding nations of Europe. So then from there, and of course, the founding nations were, of course, at that time, the UK. That you have France, you had.
I got the whole list. I got Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and the United States.
So those are the initial 12. Now, at this point, I think that we are now up to close to 32
We're
nations.
up to 32.
Yep. But we'll discuss how the expansion occurs. So you have the initial 12. And during that period of time, they pledged to work together to protect one another and to go forward with this collective agreement between all of them. So that's just the initial foundation of the NATO and the treaties. Of course, the documents there's so many documents that are tied to it that what I'm going to do is when I try to include it in the description, it gets too much. So I'll give you the link where I'll have it on the community post section, and we'll have the full thing there for everybody. So where does that leave us now, Rob?
Right when you sit there and you say, okay, in 1949, we have this charter that's been executed by these 12 nations. And as Lou said, it's really rather brief, but in brief, it also means it's kind of vague. They talk about, we're determined to safeguard the freedom, common heritage, and civilization of their peoples. That's in the preamble, which is very short, but okay. They founded on the principles of democracy, individual liberty, and rule of law. We go through the articles, and there are the ones that are, as Lou said, Article 5 is the mutual
collective self-defense.
Right. And just to go through that and Article 4, which I think are the two,
right,
the two ones that get invoked, and those are the ones that are the most important. Article 4 is about détente and discussion and negotiations and the political end of NATO. Article 4, again, very, very brief. The parties will consult together whenever, in the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened. That's all it says. So if there's any territorial integrity being threatened, political independence, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean if there's a coup? Does that mean if there's an election someone doesn't like? I don't know. Or security of the parties is threatened. But then there's Article 5, and this is the longest one, but it's still not tremendously long. It states, the parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all. And consequently, they agree that if such an armed attack occurs, each of them in exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defense recognized by Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, they will assist the party or parties so attacked by taking forthwith, individually and in concert with other parties, such action as it deems necessary, including the use of armed force to restore and maintain the security of the North Atlantic area.